Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, and it's everybody's favorite time of the month. That's right, real estate market statistics time. These real estate market statistics are for Pinellas County for March 2025. Now, first off, yes, I did get a little bit taken off the sides here for frequent viewers of the channel. This is definitely a bit different than the last couple years. Yes, I did get a haircut. You're not crazy. Second thing is you can tell we're in a little bit different location here now. We don't have the normal blue walls. This is actually the downstairs of my house. Normally the studio is set up upstairs, and basically the wife and I got discussing it, and we moved the office to the other room, but the studio has not been fully set up there yet. It's a little fun to record things in different locations. I'll probably be bopping around the area just recording from some different locations here. And we do have the dog over here on the couch staring at me while I'm doing these videos. But enough about that. Let's talk about these real estate market statistics. So these market statistics are based on year over year, not month to month. So we are comparing February 2025 to February 2024. Why do we do that? Well, the 12 months of a calendar year has a natural ebb and flow where some months houses sell a little bit more strongly and other times maybe there's not as many listings. Typically that kind of follows the school schedule as well as, wintertime, just not as much is happening compared to the summertime. So we compare year over year versus month to month so that we can get a little bit better picture of what's going on in the market. The other thing you might notice is we're in March 2025 when you're watching this or when this is released. And you might be wondering why we're looking at February numbers. And that's just because a month is really the best time frame to look at statistics. A week is honestly too short. You can hit a stretch of bad weather, especially, which is just going to throw everything out of whack. And a day is way too short if you're looking at dailies. So month to month is really about the smallest grouping of stats that you can look at. Comparing year to year is about the only way to get any meaningful data out of real estate statistics. It's just the nature of the real estate market. So if you remember back to your math class, so we have average and median prices. So average is pretty, I'm sure everybody knows what that is. Let's say you have 5 homes. You add up the price of what those 5 homes sold for, divided by 5, that gives you the average price. Median sales price is a little different though. So what we do with median sales price is we take, say, 100 homes, and the median price is the point at which there's an equal number of homes above that point as well as below that point. So it provides more of the true midpoint of the market. And compared to average sales price, it is not pulled around or it's not impacted as much if there is a larger number of, so the average sales price can move around a lot if there's a lot of very expensive homes that sell. However, median sales price doesn't move around quite that much. So let's say that like a $15 million beach home sells, well, that's really going to move the average sales price up, but that one sale isn't going to have a lot of impact on the median sales price. So let's dive into these Pinellas real estate market statistics. Total number of closed sales was up 9.2% from 731 homes to 798. Total number of cash sales was up 24.7% from 271 to 338. Now that's probably going to be a result of most of the flooded homes being cash only sales. Median sales price is down 1.5% from $452,000 to $445,000. And average sales price is up 0.9% from $601,532 to $606,891. Median percent of original list price, and what that is the original asking price. What percentage of that is the eventual sales price? And that's down 1.2% from 94.6% to 93.5%. Median time to contract increased 16.7% from 36 days to 42 days. That is getting into neutral market territory. Total number of new listings were up 11.4% from 1,236 to 1,377. And total active inventory was up 47.6% from 2,260 homes to 3,335. Foreclosures and short sales, still not a lot going on over in that section. There was a total of 2 foreclosures, which is a decrease of 33% from last year's 3. And there was no short sales. Now, I do like to dive into the different price points because $1 million house is going to sell on a little bit different time frame than a $300,000 house. So 200 to 250,000 was up 22.2% to 33 homes. 300 to 400,000 was up 2.2% to 184 homes. 250 to 300,000 was up 51% to 74 homes. And then 400 above, it wasn't down, but it definitely was not up significantly. So 400 to 600, there was 4.1% more homes sold, 253. 600 to 1 million held steady, only a 0.7% increase to 140 homes sold. And a million or more was up 26% to 97 homes sold. Median time to contract is hanging around the 30 to 50 day window, so that has slid up a little bit. 200 to 250 is the biggest change, 350% to 45. 250 to 300,000 is up 92.3% to 50 days. 300 to 400 is up to 51 days. 400 to 600 actually dropped 10% to 34 days. That's kind of the story. Now, a lot of this is colored by flooded homes. So whenever you're looking at these countywide numbers, you have to keep in mind that there's a lot more homes in that kind of, $300,000, $400,000 range. And the reason why is because they're flooded and they're cash only, which is going to skew a lot of these numbers, especially, time to contract. Total number of new listings, the biggest increase was in the $250,000 to $300,000 mark. That was up 52.3% to 99 homes. 400 to 600 was up 15.2% to 463. So pretty good surge of new homes going up for sale. And total inventory is basically up across the board. 200 to 250 is the largest increase. It is up 800% to 90 homes. 250 to 300,000 was up 191.2% to 198 homes. 300 to 400 was up 75.4% to 593. That's, again, nothing too surprising in these numbers other than the fact that median home price has held pretty well at $445. Now, if we look at median sales price compared to previous months, we had, last year we bounced around between $475 and $489, $490, depending upon how you want to slice it. On the surface level, median sales price is down because January we were at $436 and February we were at $445. But you have to keep in mind, a lot of those are flood damaged houses. And we'll get to that in the explanation part in the next section. So what sort of information can we glean from these statistics? And if you've been watching for a few months to kind of see what's happened after the storms, basically we still kind of have that split market. So you have all of the flood damaged homes along the coast, out on the beaches, Shore Acres, Riviera Bay, kind of the usual suspects. So you have all those flood damaged homes. There's a lot that are still torn out. The walls are torn out up to 4 feet. The only people that can buy those homes are cash buyers, which means that the homes are selling for significantly less than what their after repair value is. So you can't take these numbers as gospel, at least at this point. And the reason why is because anytime you have a cash specific only sort of purchase, that drastically changes the metrics on that market. Condos are another good example of that. So condominiums overall, they're doing pretty well, except for the condos that are cash purchase only. And those are ones that have, major defects that need repairs. And whenever that engineering report comes out and shows that there's major repairs that need done, no lender is going to finance that condo until those repairs are completed, which means that it's cash only offers at that point, which means that the prices plummet. Now, the thing is that only affects that specific condo community. It does not affect the condo community at large, at least not at that point. Now, if you have a large number of news stories about condos having problems, then yes, that does tend to kind of depress condo prices. However, that's not really happening on the single family side of the market. So far as the neighborhoods that I've checked, pricing things for people listing properties, home values are really holding pretty steady. And that's backed up a little bit with the numbers. Again, the other thing to keep in mind with those numbers is January and February are also kind of the natural low points of the market. So if we look back to while mid 2024 was 475 and 484, January and February of 2024 was in the 450s, 440 range, which is roughly where we're at right now. And that was without 2 hurricanes. So overall, the single family market in St. Pete, Pinellas County is doing pretty well. Things are still continuing to progress. What I've really started to notice though is a lot of homes that were flood damaged have completed their renovations and are now being reoccupied by the homeowners or going up for sale. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out into home prices as well as just general sentiment. But so far as currently, things in Pinellas County seem to be continuing on as they've been on. The other thing I've been doing is I've been checking Hillsborough County a little bit more, because Hillsborough County was not as storm damaged as Pinellas County was by a large degree. So there wasn't flooding and damages and stuff over there, but it was pretty minor compared to the larger county. So the numbers are not as discolored by those damaged properties. And in Hillsborough County, at least, things have been holding pretty damn rock steady, to be honest. So sometimes you kind of have to read between the lines on the real estate stats, and this is one of those instances. We do have a lot of inventory and not a lot of sales, and so, you know, we have 3,000 homes for sale. We've only sold like 800 in the last month. And you have that sort of inventory mismatch. If it hangs around for long enough, that will tend to result in decreasing median home prices, which is what a lot of the rest of the state has been doing. But it's still pretty early for that to have a major impact on home prices and home sales in Pinellas County. I want to talk about home inventory currently. There's been some news stories out there that inventory is like crazy high. There's big percentages, you know, there's 4 times as many homes for sale. Those news stories are basically something that is technically true, but it's missing a key context that you have to understand. So real estate is not just one metric. You basically, it's a machine, right? So there's all these sorts of inputs and outputs that are going in. So it's like, well, if inventory is high, that doesn't really matter that much if you're still selling a large number of homes, because that means that it's basically, if everything that's going up for sale sells within 30 days, home prices are going up because the demand is too high. What you want to see if you're looking for prices to level off and then decline is you need a long-term mismatch of inventory and demand, which we do technically currently have, but I have to point out that the news stories that say that inventory is up are usually comparing it to 2022, which is ridiculous. It was ridiculously low in 2022. It is comparing it to a market that was entirely unsustainable and exceptional. 2021 and 2022 were not normal market conditions, and you cannot compare regular market conditions to crazy pants time. I remember there was a period of time in like the early 2000s where beer hops were astronomically priced because supply was so low, and you can't use that data to try to arrive at what, you know, beer hops and beer should cost today, because the market is completely different. That was a record low point and completely unrelated to the current market. So yes, there are 3,000 or 4,000 homes for sale. That is effectively back to 2018, 2019 levels of inventory. And if you don't believe me, you can go look in this report, because it goes, even though I only do year-to-year comparisons, there are numbers all the way back to 2021 here. So you can see where those low points are. And then, you know, my spreadsheet data goes all the way back to 2003 or 4, depending upon the MLS. So we do have a lot more homes for sale, but we're really back to like 2018-ish inventory levels, which was still very much a seller's market. The inputs matter. So now we do have this mismatch of, you know, demand is relatively low, but we do have a large amount of inventory. And if that persists long enough, or if inventory grows enough, and this is the important part, for a lengthy amount of time, meaning usually 6, 8, 12 months, if you have that supply-demand mismatch, then prices will come down as all the people that have those homes for sale learn that buyers are not interested in the house at that price, and then they start reducing the price to, you know, to get a buyer to buy the house. But again, the important part of that is the mismatch for a very long length of time. It's human nature, because sellers do not want to sell their house for less than they could have sold it for, you know, 2 or 3 months ago. It's just human nature. So it takes time for that to happen. Market-wise, there are sections of Florida that have had that mismatch for long enough that significant declines have been seen. Not in the Tampa Bay area though, currently. Tampa Bay, so far as I can tell, is still holding pretty strongly despite 2 hurricanes coming through the area last year. So thank you so much for tuning in for these real estate market stats for the Tampa Bay area. I would love to help you out if you're looking for your own great place in the Tampa Bay area. My name is Kyle Sasser. You can reach me at 727-300-2111, or there will be a link to my calendar down below where you can schedule a call at the time that works best for you. Again, I do these statistics every month. Feel free to subscribe, or you can sign up for these statistics. If you would like your own copy of these statistics, you can get them at the link to our website is down below, where you can get a PDF copy of these each and every month. Other than that, I would love to help you out with your home in the Tampa Bay area, either selling one or finding one. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Kyle Sasser, and I'll talk to you soon.